Cheese, episode 427. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Mark, I don't use the Twitter, but when I edit the podcast and I preview the podcast on the website to make sure everything looks nice for the post, we have the Twitter feed on the side. And a long time ago, there was something you had retweeted that I saw there that I clicked on out of curiosity, and now it's been just every little once in a while popping back into my head, and it's infected the rest of the household. And it's a song that we sing now, but it's the song about Jack and Diane retold with nothing but lyrics saying sucking on a chili dog. And it just goes sucking on a chili dog, sucking on a chili dog, just over and over and over. And that loops in my head now. What songs with their lyrics swapped out have replaced the original song for you in your head, Matt?
I don't know. I just can't think of anything right now. Come back to me in a second.
So, easy answer for me is any song with the lyrics that have girl in it. Replace girl with squirrel. That's always fun. But the one that's notoriously in my head that I can never get out, song by Meghan Trainor. I think it's just called No.
Anything by Meghan Trainor is...
I don't know, but
It's called No to me.
Right, but like I heard it in a Target while I was getting some food, and there's a part in the song where I guess it's like the bridge or something. It's like towards the end, and like she keeps repeating "untouchable," right? So she'll be like "untouchable, untouchable," right? And it keeps repeating, and then it starts harmonizing with itself. And I didn't hear "untouchable." I heard "uncrustable." So
you made your way to the frozen food section.
I was like, this would have been a good jingle for that would have been a good commercial jingle. She would have made more bank off of that song. Let's make a parody of it. But yeah, so just now forever in my head it's just "uncrustable." And like I
feel like there's a summer
to other people.
Well, yeah, if I'm in a Target and I hear the song, I will think it too. But I feel like there's probably somewhere in the background. Okay, I feel like they only play Uncrustable commercials on like Cartoon Network and stuff, right? So there is a Cartoon Network summer block where there's the exact thing happening, and then she comes in and she's like eating one, but fake eating one because it's a prop. Yeah. It's made to look perfect. She throws it over her shoulder.
She's wearing like a giant Uncrustable outfit with her face like poking through.
Yeah, and then everybody comes in sucking on chili dogs.
Oh man, it's so good.
Life goes wild, you know.
PB&J.
I like peanut butter and jelly. Turns out,
not bad.
Pretty good. Yeah,
I think they have grilled cheese as well.
Grilled cheese is good. Have you ever done a grilled peanut butter and jelly?
Grilled peanut butter and jelly.
Like make it like a grilled cheese, but do peanut butter and jelly.
No, I feel like I should. I've always heard like people putting peanut butter on their burgers, and that's actually really good. I still have yet to try that. But
I haven't done that. I haven't done the thing I just described, but I did deep fry a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in peanut oil a little while ago. Good. That was very good.
You don't have a peanut allergy, I mean.
It turns out, no, I don't. That would have been a good way to find out, though, you know? Yeah. Matt?
Oh, so, okay. The one that has broken me forever and ever is good old Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days. Friend of ours has forever broken that song.
His rendition of it
is the most beautiful piece of art I've ever heard.
That's also a good perspective to have. Like sometimes it's not just about like changing the lyrics and having that stuck in your head. Sometimes it's the way it gets performed can also get stuck in your head. Yeah, it's the interpretation. Yep. And then what was it? That song Return of the Mac.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
Love that song. Classic. But there's always that part in the chorus where the guy in the background's just like, "Oh my god!" And like for that, like me and my friends will always say that for something. That's like a response to something. Just, "Oh my god!"
It's pretty good. Songs are fun. Thanks for the icebreaker, Mark. We're going to move in and break the ice of the 1930s by modernizing a classic cartoon, making it a video game. I guess we're not going to do that. Some other folks already did that, and called it Cuphead. And this week, we're going to talk about Cuphead with regards to Game of the Year, where we, over the course of the last 27 weeks, rank every top 5 game in the Game of the Year contenders for the freecheese.com. This week we talk about Cuphead. We could get into some specifics in a second. I'm just going to say up front, I don't think Cuphead's going too high on this list. I don't know about you guys.
Ooh.
I know. I came out swinging. I know. But I think a lot about Cuphead, and like, Cuphead's very good, but I think that I got bored. I got bored of it. Is that fair? Is that cruel? I don't know what to...
I never, like, got too far into this game, and I feel like I'd probably enjoy it more co-op than single player, but it just... but from my limited time, it just feels... It feels like a Contra-esque type game, right? Like, it's...
Yeah.
But probably a little more involved and a little more fleshed out, I think, or cupped out.
Well, I mean, we'd have to dive in deep and compare them 1-to-1. I think there's a lot of crossover, and it's the idea that it's just a very difficult side-scrolling shooter platform game, right? And it takes a lot of precision and quick reaction times, things like that. And obviously the whole aesthetic of it is what draws you in initially, right? And then you are surprised at the difficulty, and then it's up to you whether or not you want to persevere to try and overcome that. And when you do, and you overcome something that it was pretty tough in the game, it's rewarding fully, you know, like it's tough. You put in the work to get better at it, and then it pays off, I think, for sure. But I don't know. I kind of got bored. I think maybe it was a little too long. I don't know. Matt, did you play much of it? Did you finish it?
Oh, yeah. I completed it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you were the only one who got all the way through it.
Yeah. So, this term Souls-like is it's a very loose word. But I consider this a Souls-like because of the difficulty of the bosses.
Oh, okay.
This is very much one of those, like, boss, hard, get through it, type of games. But like you said, I think the art style is the thing that differentiates this and makes it its own thing. I think some of the innocent looking bosses at first that transform into horrifying monsters over the course of the multiple staged boss fight. I think some of the characters, while you don't spend a lot of time with them, are kind of not like well fleshed out, but they're fun, they're interesting. But like I don't know, I think the designs of the bosses, the multi-stage aspect, and it just being tough as nails, I that's where I think falls in that Souls-like area. Like I said, that is a very loose word. You can use that in many different definitions.
I think you'd use Souls-like to describe Contra when you think of it that way. I mean honestly, when you take the application of it's a game with difficult boss fights that you need to learn the patterns of and all of that. I mean, that is just a classic video game, right? Like a classic side-scrolling game. Right, of course. But I think... All right, you resold me on Cuphead.
So
I think I just got bored of it, right?
It is long. It is, especially for how hard it is and beating you upside the head over and over and over again.
Because I think of something like Contra. When you get good at Contra, you can zip through that whole game in, an hour or whatever.
Right.
And I'm not talking speed run. I'm just talking like the patterns, your way through. It's like anything.
I would say this game had two types of levels. Definitely the side-scrolling ones were the weaker ones. I wish they would have just kept the boss rush thing. I understand trying to throw in a mix to the gameplay, but I mean they were fine, but they did not stand out. It was definitely the bosses and the designs of them, mostly both gameplay design and I think art of the bosses, because like I said, some of the transformations I think are really cool to look at. But no, I think it's a hair too long for how brutally difficult this game is. They at least gave you some avenues to, like, you would unlock a section and you could probably go to one or two or maybe even three different ways to kind of mix it up without completely stepping away from the game. But still, like, you had to complete all of them. So if you did A and B and you were left with C, at some point you had to get through C. So yeah, it's a lot of banging your head against a wall there. But I think I like that last boss. I thought that last boss fight was a very dumb design. Not dumb, but like, it was dumb, but in a way that worked for that game to make it harder. And that's with the dice, for those that have played it. The dice rolling mechanic at the very end. But I like this game. I like this game a lot. I think it was that 2017 year, right? 2017?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a product of that Game of the Year falling the way it did, that it got up as high as it did. But no, I did enjoy that game a lot. I do have a placement. It sounds like it's going to be a bit higher than you, Joe, but
no, you've brought me back around on it, dude. For real.
Can I ask about the gameplay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wasn't it like part platformer as well? Like,
yeah, there was
a weird like counter mechanic you could do with like jumping or something.
Right. So the answer to the question of the platforming, some stages did not have a boss. They were just like traditional side-scrolling Mario left to right. Now, brutally difficult on all kinds of weird projectiles, enemies, and kind of not pixel perfect, but close enough to pixel perfect jumping placement. To get through those levels, and depending on if you collected, I think there was like cards or something in the level. If you collected them, that would help your grade and, of course, completion time and the amount of enemies you took out along the way, like that kind of stuff. But that was its own levels. I never had a boss at the end. Answer the second question, yes, there was like a parry mechanic that you could use for either like jumping, or I think if you parried it got you health, or it did a couple different things. But anything that was pink on the screen, you could do that parry, like you jumped into it and then you jumped again and that would do the parry. Like I said, it did a couple different things depending on the boss. It could have like deflected. I think some stuff even deflected back at the boss as like a hit. Some of it was, of course, dodging. I think some of it did a little bit of health for you at times. But yes, it was it was like a parry mechanic, but not in your traditional sense.
And power-ups were during the
dash. It was one of those things. I think did you purchase them or unlock them? Now I don't remember. But you unlocked them and you preset them before you went into the boss fight, and then you were able to do them at some point, one or another. Okay. There was one more thing. Oh, I do remember though, the default controls did not work for me. Like, I quickly switched the controls to the triggers. Like the dash, I moved that, I think it was like circle to R2, and that made my gameplay experience much better. So I guess a minus half point for bad default controls.
That's what I do with the Mega Man X games. Like whenever there was like dashing involved, you could, circle was fine because the jump was right there and you kind of do both together. But sometimes I just like the good shoulder button dash instead. So it's let's focus on the face buttons for my thumb.
Yeah, it kind of enables more of the ability to do them at the same time, or in like less travel time with that thumb. So that definitely helped. But yeah, no, I like this game a lot. Brutally difficult at times. I definitely screamed at the TV a few times, but there's This is part of how I play games sometimes, you know?
Where would you place it on our here list?
If you were asking me, I don't know, I had a spot, and then I talked about it, and brought me down just a little bit.
Told you. Sorry.
My original thought was above Splatoon 2 before our conversation. That is a packed section of games right there. Fire Emblem, Red Dead, and God of War. Jesus Christ.
A lot of walls to break.
Yeah. Dude, Red Dead's in such a weird spot. All right.
We could move Red Dead to the bottom if you want.
No, I meant it might be too low.
No.
Shit. I don't know where to put this game.
Hello, Celeste. Hello.
Yeah, Celeste. I think.
Yeah, like I was thinking around Celeste.
That's fine. You want to put it right below Celeste, above Bloodstained? Joe, how do you feel about that?
Below Bloodstained.
Below Bloodstained? Oh,
below
shit.
Final Fantasy 15.
Ooh.
I think below Final Fantasy 15. Do you think above? I'll meet you in the middle. Between Bloodstained and Final Fantasy 15?
No, put it below.
I knew it. Alright. Shoot.
Look, I have to make my hours spent in 15 worth something, right?
Yeah, buddy. Alright, I feel good about that.
So yeah, despite the second place finish in 2017, and as far a drop here, it only flipped one spot.
It was a second place finish? Jeez.
Yep, near Cuphead, Resident Evil 7, so there's your flip-flop. And then that year was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and then Super Mario Odyssey.
Weird year. Celeste is still the gatekeeper.
Yeah. That is a weird pack. All right, I'm gonna have to do some thinking because I gotta move here. I can still use. I have to run the analytics and see where we can bust that up at. So I don't like that's weird. It's a weird 3 games there.
Are you planning to do that next episode? Or
yeah, I gotta run the calculations and the analytics and the sabermetrics to see what impacts it would have. I don't know.
Prepare yourself, listeners. Changes.
I don't even know what game it's gonna be because I can't move all 3. Like I can't, right? So like,
right.
So like, what game? It's just
your favorite.
It's just a weird. I don't even know if it's going up or down. Like I don't even know. I gotta run. I gotta run all the analytics. I gotta run the simulations. Run them 100 times and then 100 times more to see how things shake out in the percentages, of course. And I will probably have a decision next week.
So Matt's gonna play through 3 games before next week.
Yes, all 60-hour RPG, a 30-hour action game, and then a however long you want to make it cowboy game.
5 minutes, turns out. Get it all done.
It took 15 minutes to burn down that mansion, or not 15 hours to burn down that mansion, I think. So,
well, there you have it. Cuphead, right there at what is that, number 21. Not a bad spot for now. You know, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. We've only got a few more games left. We will hit 30, I think. Right? Because we're at 26 right now. Yeah, we're gonna... Yeah. All right. Stay tuned, folks. Next week, we've got stuff a-cooking. I have a question. This kind of came up last week a little bit. And I wanted to explore it in depth. But is Wii Sports the most loved video game ever?
Ooh,
Mark?
it's up there. I think it's competing with Tetris. Just because of Tetris has had that time. It's had that. I feel like it's had that placement for a good while in everybody's eyes. I mean, just Game Boy alone. But I think it's definitely
think Tetris
up there.
overtook Pac-Man? Because remember, you often hear the video games have come a long way since Pac-Man, and
I would say so just
Tetris
because of just the convenience of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Pac-Man was ported to every single thing, but I think Tetris is somehow less stressful and is actually beatable. If Pac-Man, if you're just talking about just the arcade one, that's like never ending until you hit the kill screen. It's like 256 or something like that.
Yeah, there's some glitches that you can hit. There's a weird thing that happens when you cross over. It's pretty fun.
Plus, Tetris saves you money.
True. Very true.
And then you have the whole cable link thing, which was like, ahead of its time, probably, because, Pokemon kind of set that in to be normal.
Yeah, no, I remember us having 2 Game Boys in the house with 2 copies of Tetris and going head-to-head with it. So do you think Wii Sports overtook Tetris?
Man, I'm not sure. Probably more so now, but we're also in a post-Tetris Effect world, so... I feel like they fluctuate, but I think Tetris is more accessible now than Wii Sports. So I think when Wii Sports was out, it was definitely taking the number 1 spot. But I think it's kind of calmed down since, so it might be still like a close second.
Matt, you're a numbers guy. Do you think the total number of copies of Tetris Effect plus Game Boys sold with the pack-in Tetris exceed the number of Wii consoles sold with the pack-in of Wii Sports?
Oh, I don't know the sales of the Game Boy off the top of my head. I don't know where that's at.
I keep that stuff just kind of regularly in my head, so it's about 32 million, I believe. I'm gonna check on that.
I have a feeling at some point, just because of all the double dipping and triple dipping and quadruple dipping with all the different Tetrises that are out there, I'm sure Tetris has beating, but has come real close to a Wii Sports number of copies. But kind of returning to the core question here, though, is Wii Sports the most loved video game? The answer is yes, and I got two reasons. One, Tetris, in this case, specifically what you were mentioning, Tetris and Pac-Man and other games that are loved throughout generations of time, like Mario and things like that. Gamers play them. And this gaming, big audience, especially, has grown exponentially throughout time. But still, gamers probably played those games, and non-gamers probably picked up the controller and were like, kids in their video games, and probably put it right back down. Without ever giving it a fair shot, to be fair, but that immediate, they don't know what they're doing, frustration, I think that drove some people away from some of those things. Wii Sports, there are a ton of people who have never picked up a video game controller before that most likely, or probably have at some point picked up a Wiimote and have bowled a bowling ball. From all ages. So I think that right there, audience, the amount of people Wii Sports actually got their hands to. I'm not just talking like units sold. I'm like talking like I bought it, then mom and dad plays it who would never buy a unit. So, that's like 3 people right there, right? So the amount of people that actually played Wii Sports and experienced it and probably had like this is an interesting, weird thing, but they're having fun bowling or, doing whatever. I think that is a key thing there, the amount of people that touched it. Reason 2, nostalgia. So, yes, Tetris is still around. But Tetris is still around and can still be critiqued or whatever. Yes, Tetris Effect, fantastic game, our number one and our best game of the year. But, where's that Tetris game on mobile that was like I had that. Was that even a good game? Did that even come out?
Which one?
I don't know. Wasn't there one on mobile that was coming out, like Blitz or something?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, right? Bad. There are bad Tetrises still being made. You have great ones, but you could also have bad ones still.
Yeah, there's that thing where like I think everybody's favorite Tetris is their first Tetris, and then you start to. The nostalgia factor is a good point, right? Because you haven't had Wii Sports in a while, so it's novel at this point and beloved in that sense, because even if it's not as good as you remember, you still remember it being fantastic. The Game Boy number is actually 118 million, which is 4 times what I had thought. But they are factoring in Game Boy Light and Game Boy Color numbers into that total. Mark, do you think more people have played Fortnite than have played Wii Sports?
Ooh. At this point, probably.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and another thing to bring up with Tetris, I think what's been underestimated here is the stereotype that came with Tetris was that it wasn't it was a game for moms. And we all know moms aren't gamers. Joe knows that better than anyone. Moms don't play video games. They're not
Yeah, they definitely don't.
But no, like I remember like so many people's parents would only play that and like nothing else. Like they wouldn't play video games like ever, but they would but if there's a Game Boy there, like they usually had that or something like that there.
My mom would play Tetris, and then when we got a Genesis, she'd play Columns a bunch. Mm-hmm. And she would try the other ones with us, but it was always too fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Wii Sports definitely had like
turning people away,
getting them. No, but like Wii Sports like casted a big net like quick. Like that's the advantage I think that had. And then with Fortnite now, it's so easy to hop into. It doesn't even cost you anything. That's probably going to cast the biggest net.
Well, not if you have an iOS device only.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I guess the only people... So, do you think that anyone hates Wii Sports?
Probably people who don't like motion controls. I think that's fair. Like that was a hard thing for a lot of like quote hardcore gamers to like appreciate.
That's the audience I assume would be like that. The same people that like when Cyberpunk came out leaned in and they were like, runs fine on my PC, and they hold up a picture of them with their 3060 or whatever.
But like, I think that time frame of those like of that group didn't. I feel like it didn't last that long. I think now, especially like with the Switch being a thing, I think motion controls are way more accepted now, especially in a VR post world.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I wasn't fully against motion controls, but I was like, this is not the future. And then, I finally got my hands on a Wii a couple months after its launch. I played over a friend's house, and I still wasn't still not the biggest fan of motion controls in some regards, but I opened my playing bowling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
opened up my mind to it a little bit more. I was like, all right, there's actually untapped potential here. That's interesting.
Because before that, we had the PlayStation iToy.
Yeah, which to me was a thing that I saw in the corner of Best Buy and said, "That's weird. Who buys that?"
I actually enjoyed it, but I also
I never played. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I would have.
But my favorite part of it was a game called Kung Fu. These little enemies would come, you would just slap them away, but we would cheese it and grab a broomstick or something and just start spinning that, and that would just hit everything all the time, and then you would just win. And then when the Wii came out, and then I did Wii Boxing, and I was like, this is my favorite out of all of them. that was a workout too.
Yeah, boxing, I could always feel it like back under the arms. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Do you think that we will get another Wii Sports from Nintendo?
In what, like Wii Sports, or is something?
I'm
like
leaving
this?
that open to interpretation.
Oh, okay.
Man, I don't know. Like, I feel like they did, it would have happened by now, right? Like, I don't know. Like, you think because like something was so successful that they would stick with it, but that's not always the case. It's so weird how they like revive things. But
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if they would call it Switch Sports.
I mean, Wii Sports Resort kind of came and went. I think people forget that they had a sequel to Wii Sports on the Wii.
You know what a game no one forgets is Wii Music.
Yeah, no one forgets that. I'm sure Miyamoto.
I was
doesn't
so
forget that
excited for
presentation
Wii
either.
Music.
Or is it Music or Wii Play?
I think there was a Wii Play. No,
so unforgettable, we forgot the name.
Yeah. No, I remember like Wii Music being one of the things that when the Wii was first shown off and they did that little preview of like all the games to come and they showed like Wii Music and it was like, you're going to be able to direct Mario songs. I was like, this rules. I can't wait for that. And by the time it came out, I'd forgotten that I even wanted it and never bought it, never tried it, never played it. I still, I love the Wii. It was a time. I think they could. I don't know that they'll do a specific Wii Sports again, but I do think that there's potential for something to capture. I mean, the Switch itself kind of acted as Wii Sports, right? Like for a little bit there, especially last year, where it captured the attention of people who otherwise weren't paying attention to video games. And
Switch hasn't really been marketing motion controls that much. Like the most I've seen is like Skyward Sword, but
you know, think about it, because they've got the what do you call it? The light now, right? So you kind of have to make sure that you're advertising universal controls. The one thing I did notice, which I sent you guys that dumb thing this week, but there's 2 commercials that hit Nintendo's YouTube channel. One featuring Neil Patrick Harris and the other the genie in a bottle herself, Miss Christina Aguilera. And yeah, it's both like highlighting like you can play games with your kids and your family when you're and stay connected that way. And like seeing that marketing again, it took me back to like
Karen?
No, before that, it took me back to like Penelope Cruz playing her DS. Like all the stuff where it was like just the most random celebrity. Like what?
Oh yeah.
Should we bring out those PlayStation quotes?
No, man. Let's get the cast of friends to comment on the PlayStation 2. But yeah, I think they could do it again. I don't know what it would be, right? And that's the fun of Nintendo is they spend a lot of time researching and developing and crafting and honing until they've got something that's of that caliber.
Yeah. It's possible. I throw doubt just because remember like the pivot in game, like everything was hold the controller. Then this happened. It was motion control. That was a big shift. And you know, I guess the next big shift you could see is VR, right? But like that is not as like quick as what we saw with Nintendo. Like that console came out, it was affordable, and it got bought up so much that it was hard to find, much like for different reasons, but much like what we're seeing today for Series X and PS5. But I think that shift just happened so fast. You know, VR is potentially the next thing, slower, albeit, but like, you know, it's going to take that big shift. Something, and it might not even be the way you play. It might be how you buy, or I don't know. It could be something clever like that. But I don't know, and I guess that's the fun of, you know, being a fan of video games. Like you don't know what that next potential thing could be, but you know, I don't see anything out there in the horizon that, you know, is that can pack that kind of potential and shift in the way you play a game.
What if, we'll close on this, what if you put a tablet-like device as an extra peripheral. You could like maybe place it on the ground. You'd look down and you'd see your golf ball there, and then you could swing your golf club and with a remote stuff. Anyway, man, the Wii.
Slap a Fisher Price logo on that bad boy and ship it.
I said out loud the other day, I'm sorry to the Wii U gamepad. Because I needed to, I needed the outlet to charge something else. So I unplugged where I have the Wii U gamepad permanently affixed. And I literally looked at it. I was like, I'm sorry. And then I walked away like, why am I apologizing to the Wii U gamepad? But
my condolences.
Yeah. Forza Horizon 5 came out this year. And I want to know why it's not going to win Game of the Year. I say this was brought up on Kyle Bossman's weekly show, Delayed Input, where he'd noted at the time when this episode, the episode I'm referring to had aired, that previous entries in the Forza Horizon 5 or Forza Horizon series were always very highly rated on those aggregate sites like a Metacritic, but they never appear on anybody's Game of the Year list. No outlet is giving it the big old fat Game of the Year stamp. At the time of that recording, the highest rating in 2021 on Metacritic was an 89, and it was for a game, an indie game, like a visual novel game.
That had like only 5 ratings.
Right. And even then, like some of the other big hitters from this year were only in like the high 80s, if that. So, this game might objectively, Forza Horizon 5, might objectively be the best game that any of us play this year, just across the board, right? But will it win Game of the Year?
Like, will it, like, for us personally, will it win Game of the Year?
Any of the above.
I mean, speaking for myself, it probably won't be, only because it's just not my field, I guess. It's not like, I don't typically play that many racing games as it is. And when I do play them, they're not this gorgeous and realistic looking. But I think this one for me is kind of like the gateway to like start getting into those more though. So like there's definitely something there. If it's not this year, I think down the line it could potentially be something for me to talk about more. But a lot of it for me, especially with Forza, is like something about the branding for me is kind of like makes me feel alienated in a way where it's just like I don't know where to jump in. I don't know, like, do I have to play them all? Like, what's a good one to start with? Like, I kind of get lost with that. And
skip Britain.
And like, I don't know if that's a factor for a lot of people or not, or that's just like a me thing, like, is this more like, does this grab more of the casual audience as well? Or is it just for like people like us that just kind of hop into it?
I think the numbers will probably tell the story once they release them, if they haven't already. But I feel like they're typically pretty excited to share, especially with Game Pass, how many people have played this. But I think this is a game that is kind of universally appreciated, right? Like, I think anybody can jump in. And I think this one, Mark, if you are like, hey, I want to play a racing game, I think this one you can jump in cold without ever having played a Forza and get it. I think this, moreover, what we expect out of like Forza 8 or whatever the next one is, because that one's more of the like Gran Turismo style where you're like, it's very like, not that this isn't simulation based, but this has a lighter, thing to it. You can rewind your races. You can, put stickers on the side. Someone drove by me with a thing that said MILF Hunter on the side of their car. So like, you can,
you should have started with that.
Yeah, you can dress yourself head to toe in Monster or Red Bull get up if you'd like to, but yeah, I mean, I think that as Matt.
Red Bull. It definitely has a Honda spoiler, and is not a Honda.
Perfect. But I think you could approach this game from any, like, it's racing, right? It's just pure racing, and I think anybody can appreciate that, and I think it is when you like really run across what the game has achieved, right? Like it's an open world adventure game in that sense. It's an RPG when you think about it. It's a collection game, right? Like you collect things. It's got, I don't know, there's like all these elements, and I think everything that they have done, they've done very well. Like the navigation to the next thing, the variety of options you have, racing how you want to race, adjusting difficulty on the fly, kind of like based on your performance. It can move it up or down, whether or not you're exceeding or not. I think all that stuff, like everything they do, it's just like, I don't know. If you sat down and you were said, hey, what's the perfect racing game? And you sat down and wrote a list of things like, hey, well, they need to have this. I think the Forza does it, and they do it the best way that you could do it. Like, I haven't run into anything where I'm like, man, this sucks. Okay, all right, you know what? Maybe the radio stations kind of suck this time around. There's like finding it difficult to find a station that I really like through and through, where I think previous games I've had a better time. But dude, I mean, outside of that, objectively, I think this is pretty great. So, Matt, do you think it will win Game of the Year?
It's tough because I kind of thought about this hard for like a good 10 minutes because I got myself all conflicted and weird and stuff. Because I was gonna say this Forza and racing games in general, like Gran Turismo's, even though they've been more spaced out as of more recently, I think they always got grouped in with that sports genre. And then when you get looped in with the sports genre, that's, you know, your best sports game of the year is Madden whatever year, MLB The Show whatever year, NHL whatever year, FIFA whatever year. Like, it's the same games over and over and over, and then the one usually racing game that stood out that year. And I think that it puts it in a tough spot, right? But at the same time, why isn't Call of Duty considered that, right? Like, they're just pumping out Call of Duty games every year, but like, I don't think Black Ops got talked in that way about it, but like, I'm pretty sure Modern Warfare was up for some Game of the Years when that reboot came out 2 years ago. Like, I just don't understand why, like, all that game is now. I mean, they tweak it and they theme it, much like they do with Horizon. They tweak it and theme it, you know, to the specific play style and the locale, and, you know, they change the weapons and they throw in a couple new multiplayer modes, but like, isn't that what Forza just did? Like, yeah,
no, the core of it is the same.
There's a battle royale mode in Forza Horizon, and I only played it once, but it was awesome, and I want to play it again. Like, it was cool. Yeah, and I don't know. I think this game is good. Like, it's really good, and it, like you said, there's so much kind of creativity in the way you can progress the game, right? Because like, even like the core expansion events, right? They're not racing. They're just kind of like cool set pieces to explore Mexico. And I think even unlocking that, I don't even think you really need to race to unlock them. Yeah, you probably may have to do one or two, but like, you could do all those speed traps, the drifting, the jumps, and get attributes that way, or the star rating. I forget what the leveling system currency is, but you know, you get that currency to start to expand the next section. That unlocks more of that stuff, and I'm enjoying the racing a lot, so I'm doing a lot of the racing. But like, I have a feeling if you didn't really enjoy racing too much, or the ones you have unlocked currently are not your style, you can either jump right to the like dirt racing, or you can unlock the PR stunt stuff and progress through the game doing that stuff. And I think that's where this game shines, is just the fact that driving around feels so good, which is good for a racing game and an open world racing game at that. But the creativity with it as well, and the events too. Like, if there's a specific car you like using, like, the game will, instead of, you know, it always being you versus supercars, like, the game has a classification based on cars. So if you want to really use a Honda Civic, the game will put that class of cars in that race. There's a couple events that have mostly the seasonal stuff I saw that have a very requirement or whatever, or a classification you must use. But the main game stuff, I have not run into one that's like,
I think like 90% of races I've been in a Ford Bronco, not at all. Yeah, you know what I mean.
So yeah, it's just my gut reaction. Bringing it back around, sorry. My gut reaction to this was, well, yeah, of course it doesn't win because it gets thrown into the sports category. but like, why aren't other games being lumped in that yearly? It's great. Another great one of those. But like, it's just thrown to the wayside because it's another great one of those. So I feel like this brings up a good point. This might be the year to do because everything got delayed out. There's some heavy hitters here at the end still, but
sure. Like
maybe this is the year we rethink it, much like we did with the early access stuff for PlayerUnknown's.
But is this like the chain restaurant of meal or of video games, right? Like, I don't know. Like, yes, like yes, you can go to a chain restaurant that is really good, even if they make everything like you can do that and it's super good and it's great top to bottom. Like, but it's still not going to win the awards the way that like, you know what I mean? Like Mission Barbecue is not taking home the same awards as like
or winning a
Johnny's
Michelin
Barbecue.
Star.
Yeah, like that special little tiny shack that's behind someone's overpass to their
right. But so then. To my argument, then, if we're going to go, if Horizon is a chain, why aren't the locations that have, or the restaurants that have only like 2 locations, why aren't they considered chains? Because there's a second one now. So, like,
right.
I think you can go either way with this conversation. You can.
I think even stretching that further, like, do you think that Fable, the reboot done by the same studio, when it comes out, could win Game of the Year?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because playing this, the story's dynamic, it's fluid. You kind of like naturally flow from one beat to the other, and it seems like so. There's like the main event, and then as you get like you fill a meter basically. Like you do so many events, and now you've unlocked the next chapter. But the next chapter is up to you. You choose like,
right? Are
you going to go the dirt path, the street race path, whatever path you want to go down? And the story just kind of cuts in and out dynamically, super fluid, and like. Imagining that for a Fable game seems super cool with the potential and possibility, especially Fable being a game about choice and player agency and that stuff. Applying these mechanics to that in an open world sense and all that seems awesome from an RPG standpoint. And I also think that if Fable were in the conversation, people might be sitting, it's Game of the Year. It's the best game ever made.
Oh, easy.
It would be all of those, high praise, high whatever. But because this is a car game, because it's a racing game, it does not get that, even though it probably deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the year to kind of have that conversation, right? Because Kyle brought up a great point in delayed input that week. Like, there has not been that. There's been some cool games this year. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say this year's been trash, but like, there's been some cool games. Yeah. But like, as you do game of the year, I kind of passively think about what our game of the year looks like, and I don't have anything.
Dude, looking at my own short list for this year, it's tough to imagine where we all line up on things. Right. I don't think we do. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, like just loosely thinking about that conversation, I think this is the year to kind of consider a Forza. And then if you consider it this year, well, why can't you consider Motorsport 8 when that comes out? Because I'm sure it's going to have...
Yeah.
More detailed racing mechanics because it's more of a racing focused game, but like I'm sure it's going to do what it does well, and it's going to expand upon what it has done. I don't know. I
mean, like to that, like, could we even like thinking about to stretch out? You already brought up like Call of Duty and the sports games and the annualization of those, but like something like Magic, which we've played a bunch of, right? Like the game Magic the Arena is not new. However, the set is new, the card base is new. Like, does that not count for a game of the year? Like,
yeah, right. New mechanics to shuck up how the game is played. I mean, yeah, it's still like mana cards, right?
Yeah,
but like strategies have changed. New mechanics, obviously new gameplay loop, kind of like. And that brings up like then you bring up all right. So Magic is a Everlong game, but then all right, so then where are your Destinies at? Like Destiny Year 4, like Year 4, the dramatic upgrade that Destiny users have wanted, and does that get brought in because of all the shakeups? Like, I think.
Well,
I'm not saying Destiny specifically, but a Destiny what's to prevent that kind of conversation from happening, right? Yeah. So. I don't know. I just think that video games have gotten really weird in the last 4 years, probably 7 years, honestly, and we've never really considered a Game of the Year platform changing besides early access.
And I think another thing too, and this is probably something a little more specific to us that I've noticed in the last probably 2 years, is we're not chasing the week anymore, or the Forza came out this week. We're talking about Forza, but
yeah, Forza's
it's
good.
no
I want
longer
to play.
right. But like, it's no longer that like all hands on deck. This game is out. Everyone must play. Like, not that we were ever like that by any stretch of the imagination, but like that pressure to play everything in a year. I feel like even in like media coverage, I feel like because of the ease for anybody to just throw on a camera and click stream, there's so much more exposure to games that have been out for a long time. I think games getting post-launch support for years, right? And these games as a service and all of that, where there's more attention and more things added to games over time. I think you end up with conversations about games lasting a lot longer, or newer conversations or new conversation topics happening about a game years after its release, where before it was very much in the moment, disposable culture, just what's out, what's hot, let's talk about it, let's move on, right? And I think it's shifting a lot of. Game of the Year is gonna be interesting, I don't know.
It's always interesting, and then we do. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we do our planning, and we make it. We don't. That sounds bad the way I say this, but like we make it work. But like I think we get a good product based on how we go about our business.
Mark, can you think of another game that's objectively great but never comes up in Game of the Year conversation?
Simulators.
Oh, like a
old farming simulator.
Yeah.
I mean, like actual legit simulators, and not like something like Goat Simulator where like it's trying to be funny.
Yeah. How many Game of the Years is Microsoft Flight Simulator going to
win? It might actually win something this time around, but it's not often do you ever see these type of games in conversations, or even like visual novels. You don't see a lot of those either. And like, no. And I know there's valid arguments on both sides with that, more or less. But I was thinking back to something like the Zero Escape games and whatever spin-offs they made. Like, what was the most recent one? Like AI, the Somnium Files or whatever. Like, games like that where there's like deep puzzle elements as well, and it's not just reading. They don't really get talked about much either. Just like kind of stuff like that. I mean, they'll get talked about and praised as they come out, but like as far as Game of the Year goes, I don't think they hold much of a light compared to other games. But yeah, usually, I feel like I guess just those two. I feel like they share something in common. There's something there with how you approach them and the longevity of those games or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that they're niche. Like I think kind of like you were saying with the Forza thing at the beginning, like the audience, right? Like who's the target audience, and then that kind of dictates how it's received in a way. The target audience for something like Zero Escape, or who talks about those things. Like it never bubbles up. There's like this little weird pockets where I don't know. I think it's we should. Not just we, the three of us, but I mean, we as a species should branch out. And when we start looking back at the end of the year, and maybe that's, I think so much of it for us too has been the way it's all been presented, right? Like everybody just copies one another. So there was someone who came up with the idea to do awards to begin with. They copied the video game award people. Just generally speaking, from any outlet, they copied the Oscars or whoever else, right? So then you kind of start breaking it up by genre, just because that's what the Oscars did. You know what I mean? Like, and then it filters and splinters from there. But in the end, everybody ends up talking about the same 16 games or whatever, when it should be a much bigger conversation.
Definitely. Like,
it's
even with like, I'll keep this part short, but like even with reviews, I think like that should be updated too, because games are updated all the time, and there's never like a check-in on this game since it launched. Like, oh, how is this now? Like, since this update, or like, there's no like update of the year or like patch of the year or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, it's like this game used to be trash, but now it's actually really good, but no one cares because it only got talked about when it first released day one. Unless you're something like No Man's Sky or something where like it gets that recognition eventually or something like that.
Right, because it was so publicly hated and made such a dramatic turn.
Like I doubt Cyberpunk is going to get that same level of treatment.
They'll get there.
Not the No Man's Sky level. I think it'll get a second wind for sure, but yeah.
I think that PS5 Series X release, whenever that ends up coming out, I think that's going to be the second win there.
Yeah.
But oh, I forgot what to say. Oh, that's
there's
what.
Also
like some outlets have started doing that, but like they're going halfway there. They're not going the full way. Like IGN does do their reviews in progress for multiplayer games, or they splinter it out like campaign, and then like they do the multiplayer portion as its own review, but then review in progress. But it's only for like 2 weeks. Like they do it, like I guess they get their review copy and they play a little bit of multiplayer, but it's only against other outlets, right? So
yeah.
So they wait to get into the public, but they only like play like a week and then they update the review. I don't think they ever really go back to it. They did do some updating and reviews, but these are games that are like years old. It's not like a year later. Like they think they updated their review like Dota. Like a year ago or something like that, or you know, like it was games like that have been years old. And it's not like they're revisiting those review scores every year or whatever. So like,
I mean, and for something like IGN, like you think about it, like is their audience coming to them for a Dota review?
Right.
Does the Dota audience care? Like it's a very weird, tricky thing to navigate, but.
And I think that's where it comes, like, is that going to get you clicks if you review the same game every year? Like, is that, and is, you invest the time to...
Apparently, I'm sure their Call of Duty reviews top of their reading list.
Anyway. Yeah, I just, what does month 7 look like? They don't do that, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. Their reviews are super tricky because of how there was a game I was playing this. So after, in the wake of Forza Horizon 5, I checked out, there's a Square Enix racing RPG for the PlayStation 1 called... hold on.
Are you talking about Racing Lagoon?
I am talking about Racing Lagoon.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I played a little bit of that this week, and like I was digging it, but like when you read about it, it's very poorly received. And there was a part of my brain that was just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't play it if it wasn't good. And I was like, what do you mean? I was playing it and I was liking it. The racing was fun. The story is, I mean, all in Japanese, but like you can kind of parse some things together, from reactions and little bits and stuff. But like it's not a bad game, but you see a review that says like it, or you see a general write-up that just says like it was poorly received in Japan and never made it overseas, and it's like, oh, I guess it's not a good game then. Like, no, not at all. I thought it was good for what I played.
Well, and
I want to keep playing it.
We're judging by that. Earthbound, it's a bad game, right?
God, yeah, right.
Sorry, not Earthbound. Mother 3, that's the one.
Yeah, that one.
So bad, I still haven't played it.
Yeah, me either.
You guys should.
Don't play bad games,
You guys
and if it's not in North America, it's a bad game.
Well, we did get a new release in North America this week. A brand new Nintendo handheld, the Game & Watch. Specifically, Game & Watch, The Legend of Zelda. Mark, you picked one up. I've been thinking about buying one if I stumble across it in a Target. How do you like the old boy? I guess it's not a boy yet. It was a watch.
More than I thought I would. I forgot I had this pre-ordered. It was around the time when they were announcing this and Skyward Sword. And I was like, I gotta get those Skyward Sword Joy-Cons because freaking nerds everywhere hogging them all up. And I thought they were going to do the same thing with Game & Watch. And I was like, I don't need this. I don't need any of this, but whatever. And then it showed up. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And from the second you hold the packaging, I was just, for some reason, I was impressed by the dumbest details. They're so needless and pointless. Like the box itself has a clear slipcover, and like, so when you see the Game & Watch on the box, you see the splash screen for the Legend of Zelda, the NES game, the first one. But that's part of the slipcover. As you're sliding that off, the actual screen that's on the Game & Watch is the what's the little Game & Watch mini game? Oh crap, what's it called? Like Critters or something like that, where you're pretty much like whacking the gophers in the holes with the hammers, and instead of like a stick figure head, it's Link's head for this version.
Oh.
So
I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, like they threw that in there. And then like and then like inside of the packaging, you can actually use it as a stand for your Game & Watch if you want to set it up as a clock on like your bedside or something. Like the back of it has legs you can fold out, and it's pretty sturdy. And you can put it in there, and it keeps a little spot on the right open for your USB-C slot to charge it. And I was just using my iPad charger for it, even though it comes with a little USB cord. It's like the length of like the Pokeball Go cord.
Oh God, no.
So I don't know where they expect you to have this hooked up at with a cord that short.
Yeah.
But if you have an Apple charger or USB-C charger of any kind, that works perfectly fine. So they did think about that. That's cool. I like that they give you a reason to like hold on to the packaging in a weird way. Usually I just throw it away, don't give a shit. But it was nice that they thought about it. Maybe that helps, like, you know, something with reducing trash, something about being ecological friendly somewhere in there. But yeah, then like the actual product itself, you know, the little button on the side. It's the power button's kind of similar to like on like the top of the Switch, but you don't have to press as hard, and it's very clicky, so it's nice, and it instantly turns on. And on the back of it, the nice little Easter egg, there's a little indent cut of like the Triforce on the back. But if you turn the Game & Watch on, that Triforce lights up. And I thought that was just really cool. But
that's a neat little did the Mario one have anything like a little mushroom on the back?
I have no idea. Like, and I think the Mario one only has the first Mario game, right?
Yeah, I remember it was just the NES one, and right. I think they maybe had like a Game & Watch thing or whatever, but yeah.
Sure. And like this, you have 3 games. Technically, no. You have 4 games, technically 5. So aside from the clock itself that you set, you will see Link just kind of running around doing his own thing, fighting enemies. But at any point, you can drop into that and control Link and just keep fighting enemies on the clock. And then like if you hit like a button on the Game & Watch, he will go back to just being controlled automatically. But that's not even one of the games I'm counting here out of the 4 or 5, whatever. So yeah, it comes with the NES, Zelda 1 and 2.
Right.
You get the original version of Link's Awakening, not the director's cut, which I'm very curious and appreciate that, because I feel like I haven't really played that one. I've only seen the director's cut everywhere. And I know the director's cut's probably like the definitive one, but it's nice to have that version as well. Then you have, you know, the actual Game & Watch game. I set the high score to 69 and stopped, as you do. And then there is the timer. So you can set the timer for however long. I think it's up to 10 minutes. But that is, it uses Zelda 2 assets. And during this timer, as it's counting down, you are just fighting waves of enemies as Link in Zelda 2 style. And like you have all of Link's abilities. You can do the up stab, you can do the sword plant. You can't use any magic abilities. But and if you die, you know, it's fine. You'll just respawn. But it keeps a score of how many enemies you've killed within that time. And you can always choose to like beat that score or something. It's like that's also a game in itself. And the feel of it, I really like too. Like I appreciate how light and thin this is. It's like probably like a little bigger than a credit card. You know?
Oh, it's that tiny.
I mean, like my phone is bigger than it. I mean, granted, iPhone XR or 10R, whatever. So the things are huge, but yeah, it's like
when you say it's light, does it feel like the cheap plastic light, like a Tiger Electronics thing, or does it feel like it's well made? I mean, it's $50, so I can't imagine it's like.
Is it weird to say both?
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Like, it feels light, but also well thought out and like just well designed. Overall with it, like I know I could fit it into like a front pocket of like a jacket or a shirt or something, and I know like it fits there fine without it sticking out or something like that. Like it's just that good enough to like to just place in a pocket without having to worry about it like sticking out like a bulge or something. And
what about because now you got me thinking about taking it out and about. Like, are there save states for the games? Like, could you easily, if you had to just like pause up?
So here's the cool thing about that. If you hit the power button on the side, it will instantly turn it off. But that's like its sleep mode.
Okay.
You can turn it back on and whatever. But even without turning it off, if you're just like, you know what, I don't feel like playing this game, I want to switch to the other one right now. You can instantly switch. You can switch between games on the fly, on demand, super quick, and it will let you know that like the game is paused and you continue right where you left off. You can't do like save states or check-in points like the virtual console or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that like I could just start Zelda 1, be in the first dungeon, and then all of a sudden I want to play Zelda 2, and I'm like going into a town, and I can go back to Zelda 1. It'll be like, hey, a little banner will pop up, like, you know, that the game is paused, and you can just start it, pick up right where you left off.
That's really neat.
Got that quick resume technology.
Yeah,
like that into the super quick. But little note: if you hold in the power button and you do like a full turn off, that will obviously reset your progress.
Okay, but so what about like in-game saves? Do they still count?
It's still like. Yeah, like, you know, if you get like a game over and you save your game, it will keep your progress.
Okay, even if you turn, okay, that's good.
Yeah. There's always that, but yeah, as long as you just do like the sleep mode thing, you're good to go. You're fine. You can have all three of those games running in the background at different points, and you can just juggle between them at any point in time. I think that's really cool.
Because I think like the interesting thing with this is like I'm currently staring at 3 devices in front of me just on this desk. 4 if you count this computer, where I can play The Legend of Zelda right now. Right now. And, like, just over there's the option to play the original one. I have it, the NES, like, it's right there. And the idea of this, like, taking it on the go, it's, like, I don't know, when they announced the Mario one, I was kind of like, that's cute, whatever. They announced this one, I was like, they're doing it again with Zelda, but it's, I don't know, hearing it like this, it's like...
Is it, this isn't going to be great for listeners, but is it cool if I grab it real quick?
Oh, yeah, dude, I want to see this. I want to see the little baby.
I see it, it's only right there, but hold on.
Because I don't know, man. I had 0 interest in this thing, but hearing him talk about it, I'm like,
I think the portability thing, I mean, I guess it's smaller than a Switch, but
also, like, I'm not going anywhere either. Yeah, no, you're right? Like, if I went somewhere, I could take the Switch and then also have it. Oh, yeah, look at her.
Okay, so here it is.
Can I see it?
In my hand.
You said it was thin. Oh, yeah, that is thin.
Oh, that is thin, yeah. For listeners at home, it is about the size of, just pull out your favorite. It's a little bit bigger than Mark's credit card number, which is
69696969.
Honestly, everyone, because people have different size phones. I'm going to give them something a little relatable. It's about the size of what looks like a PlayStation TV. So bust out your PlayStation TV and just kind of hold that, and that's about the same size.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it looks like the size of a hard drive, like a standard little
a little bit.
Digital.
Oh, I don't think it did it, but like
or
the
even
back
a
was
solid
trying
state,
to light up.
but SATA, not M2.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, like I turned it on and instantly it left me at playing Zelda 1.
That's pretty good.
But
right. I'm gonna slip myself into a Target today
and like
throw away $50.
And like the D-pad isn't like, yes, it's a typical Nintendo D-pad, but it feels loose enough to where it doesn't hurt to press on it. Like it's very soft to press in on, and the face buttons are all rubber, and I really appreciate that. There's something about that makes it feel like, I don't know, gives me like an old calculator feel, and I really appreciate that.
That kind of fits right with where it all originated from,
and like I don't know, like it made me think about the Mario one a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want it because of how limited that one is. And it's like the Zelda one, there's so much to it. And it's like, I feel like they probably could have done more with the Mario one now that I think about it, but they probably just didn't know what to do, you know? Like they just throwing it out there and just see what sticks.
Do you think this is the last of these? I mean, I know it's the last one we've seen announced, but
part of me feels that, but at the same time, there could be one more or something. But like, I feel like usually with Nintendo, it feels like Mario and Zelda are like the ones that get the best treatment, no matter what. Like those are always the shoo-ins. You never have to worry about those like leaving the spotlight ever. Like they will always be in there. But I feel like, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it's just how I'm feeling. Like Mario, of course, is going to be like, you know, the front for everything, as it should. Mascot, yeah. Gateway for a lot of games and genres, what have you. Do you think that Mario is like the testing phase and Zelda is like the perfected phase? Like, do you think Mario walks so Zelda can run?
Well, yeah, but I think Mario walks and Zelda can run so that Metroid can crawl.
Oh, shit. But like,
I mean, honestly though, like Metroid is kind of like when you take the jumping of the Mario and the exploration of the Zelda, you get Metroid. But but no, I think like there's, I mean, with Nintendo, from the bits that we've pulled from interviews and things through the years, that they prototype until they perfect it and they get to a point, and then they stamp a franchise to it, right? So. Mm-hmm. With Mario Odyssey, someone came up with that hat throwing mechanic and or the transformation, like whatever the core thing is that they decided, and then they said, well, this kind of makes sense for a Mario game, and then they tool it again for how it works for Mario. And I think that, I mean, knowing that they both kind of originated from the same mind, right, or set of minds when they started to flesh them out, I think that there's a lot of those things where it's like, this makes sense for this, and we could explore this more over here. Or what about that thing we did in Mario? We could apply it to this game. Like I think yes, you're
because like
you're right.
a lot of launch games with a system, like it's typically a Mario game, but then more so lately, it's almost kind of been a Zelda game here and there.
Yeah,
I mean, like a launch title
Zelda.
thing.
That Zelda was cooking for a while. Then it just, it's like well, let's keep in the heating lamp for the Switch. Why not?
And they kind of did that with Twilight Princess as well, but not a lot of people know that. Like,
right.
It was the final GameCube game or one of them, and then it was the first Wii game.
Yeah.
But the Wii had, came first. But like, it seems like they're taking a lot of notes from Mario, and then like, it got me thinking, like, all right, you have the Mario Legos right now, right? That's like, they're different how that's being handled. They're just now adding Luigi, and there's like Luigi's Mansion type stuff being thrown in there, which I think is really cool.
Really? I didn't know that. I kind of want that.
And it's like, how long before we get Zelda Legos? And what's that going to be like? And that's going to sell way more than Mario.
For sure. Yeah, people go crazy over... Mario is just like a good, like... Yes, families love Mario, but Zelda, people go crazy for Zelda.
And then you think about...
Unless you're Matt, you go crazy for Waluigi.
Yeah. And you think about like Universal Studios, right?
Let me build a tennis court.
Yeah.
Eventually you will, I promise you. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get Super Nintendo World, and then like they're already planning the Donkey Kong expansion.
Yeah.
But it's like, how long before Zelda?
Zelda
you know it's going to happen. It's so inevitable. That place is going to blow up even way more when that happens. You're not going to be able to walk anywhere. You will get trampled on.
Yep.
Or it's always sold out.
Yep.
But like eventually the Harry Potter place, I think, is just going to be shut down. You renovate that castle into a Hyrule castle. That's my dream.
I think it could happen, right? They just shut down that Harry Potter mobile game to make way for Pikmin, so shut down the physical park to make way for Zelda and Gandalf. I mean, you know.
It's just, it made me think that like Mario was just like a testing phase, and then Zelda are like sticking the landing.
Yeah, and I think they go weirder with that, and I think, but again, like I would like to see one of these little baby handhelds done with Metroid or with, I don't know, like any franchise really, like a Fire Emblem one with like some of those old classic Fire Emblems. Like we got that retranslated Fire Emblem 1 last year. Remember they ported it to America or localized it to America for the first time on Switch. Put that thing out on a little baby handheld, localized. Like that would be a fun little. I would play Fire Emblem in bed. You know what I mean? Like that on a little Game & Watch.
The one I would actually like consider seriously buying would be a Donkey Kong one.
I was about to say
put that Game Boy game on it.
Yeah.
Like I feel that needs to happen at this point. Like I know like Mario and Zelda are like the bigs, but obviously with Mario, Donkey Kong's always going to be somewhere in there. Like he's even in the movie, you know, like coming out. Like it's
right. And Daddy turned 40 this year, so it's a perfect timing.
Right. And like there's a couple that I was thinking of too, of like, you know, given like this like Game & Watch like treatment. And it's like I couldn't like, can you imagine like Pokemon? Like if you had like, maybe it doesn't look like a Game & Watch exactly, but it looks like maybe like a tiny Game Boy Pocket or something like that. And
yeah,
it has,
don't give them an excuse to re-release those old games again.
No, so hear this, Matthew. Mark's original questions, I see you've changed them since you put together the show notes, but originally it said, could they ever revive the Game Boy Micro? And my friend, let me tell you, yes, 1000% they could. There's already a market of people who mod these things, who try to perfect, you know, what is the ultimate Nintendo handheld using original hardware. If you did that and you baked in internal storage, doesn't even need, I mean, literally you could put 8 gigs of internal storage, 4 gigs of internal storage, and just fill it with, you know, first party Nintendo games immediately. I mean, again, like I think the Game Boy, gosh, I was going to call it Game Boy Micro, but like when they do a Game Boy Classic, a physical Game Boy Classic, like that thing alone, yeah, for sure. And I think it could be in the Game Boy Micro form factor. I think there's a lot, and you could pack it with a whole lot.
Yeah, you can even, or what was I going to say? Because I can see them going in a direction of like, maybe not just Game & Watch stuff, but like making these little devices with just built-in games instead of reproducing games, you know, like I feel like it's just easier to just like put like a ROM on there or whatever and just have it emulated.
If Nintendo made their own Game Gear Micro line, right? Like the Game Gear Micro was a silly thing, right? But like
I was going to bring that
up. It was 4 options. Each of them had 4 games on there. There was the bonus 5th one, the Aleste stuff, which was cool. But, you know, if they did these limited edition, you know, mini Game Boy Pockets or something like that just like, here's the Pokemon one. Here's the Donkey Kong 94 one. Like all that stuff, like, dude, yes.
Or just take advantage of your current selling console that's sold a lot of units and maybe just put a marketplace together where
do
you
that
can
too, man.
Buy the Game Boy games.
But do it both, right? Like we said, like you can right now for, you know, the cost of whatever it is, $7 a month or something, that Switch, or $7 a year, whatever the Switch Online thing is for a single person, $20 a year. You can play the original Legend of Zelda, but like they have this device as a dedicated thing that's like, you know, here's a thing for Zelda fans to put 3 of the best Zelda games ever right there, ready to, like, it's a neat little novel thing, and I think it is nothing more than that. But like, imagine those old, like, limited edition, like Pokemon Game Boy Colors or the Zelda Game Boy Advance, like those types of things. Reissue something like that with those games baked in, ready to go. And like, it's a little weird because you think about it, like money wise, you could get an old Game Boy Advance, a flash card, and an SD card, and fill it with every game you could ever want, all for, you know, $100 or something. Whereas something like this is probably going to cost you $60 for 3 games baked in that you can't actually change or swap or do anything with, but it's still a novel, neat piece of like memorabilia, and I think that's where this thing comes in.
Yeah, especially if you're like a collector of any kind too. It's
Yeah.
really nice. But along those lines, if Nintendo does happen to go into this direction and they keep going with it, how do we revive the Virtual Boy?
I don't think they ever will, unfortunately, because they had their chance when the 3DS came out, right? Like you could have very easily done some stereoscopic 3D stuff with those games and made them cool, made them run in black and white, like because you can play those Virtual Boy games in emulators and run them in black and white, and they look sick. They look real good.
I'll
play that Wario game there.
Red.
Oh, I mean, believe me, it's much better in red, right? But like I think if they ever did it, I think those Virtual Boy games would come out in a collection or something. Like it would have to be like that. And you're not going to see the red. The red happened because of, red was the cheapest part to manufacture at the time to put into those screens. So they went with red for that reason. Where I think if they revisited any of those today, it would be, it would have to be a collection type, and it would have to be just grayscale, make it, because Virtual Boy really was a
no. You gotta have that filter at least. You gotta give me the option. Of
Sure. Yeah, but I think that they would, I don't think that would be the first thing, because now there's also so many other like regulations that would have to go through and pass and tests and all that stuff. There's just way too many things now that I don't think staring at red would. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would love if they did.
Yeah, because like the Link's Awakening, I was trying to boot it up, but I forgot the sound was on. But it uses the old Game Boy, like almost original Game Boy filter. Like it's like shades of green instead of being
that's cool,
shades of gray or what have you. But like look, it took Nintendo this long to even like get a VR headset back in people's hands, but you have to make it yourself.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even have a head strap, but like I could see them doing something that's a little more updated. I don't know if it would exactly. I don't know. I don't know how they would do it. If they probably wouldn't, but if they were to, obviously the games would have to be baked in. What 5 games they have. But like, I don't know about the controller. I think the controller would be changed for sure.
I know, but then is it even a Virtual Boy without the controller?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird controller, but I don't. Yeah.
I just
want
it to come back.
I'd rather just have that Donkey Kong Game Boy game come back. I don't need the Virtual Boy.
But I think there is something to, because the problem with, right, like I love the Mister and I love modern emulation and I love where we're at with all this stuff, but there's something about a curated collection that makes it easier to parse, right? Like it's really tough to sit down when you have endless possibilities and pick something, because if something gets boring or if you hit a wall and something's tough, then you can immediately just like, well, I'm going to bounce to something else because I can. Where a device like that, something dedicated, I think it's neat that you have such a limited, option set. Even like the Nintendo Switch Online libraries of games, it's limited, and some of the choices they add are super weird, and it's, because that's what they can get the licensing to today and whatever, but like, I never would have played like, I don't know, like, what was that, Mark, you and I played it, that weird boat racing game?
Oh, I don't know the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but like, we wouldn't have played that, not at all, but it was there, and it was like, oh, this is fun, this is neat. And you can see where those mechanics were applied in other games. I think I would love a little, keep the Game & Watch thing going. Just keep that form factor, keep swapping it out, putting new little games in it. I think that would be a fun.
Like, if anything, if the Virtual Boy can't be revived in any way, at least I hope they find a way to extract Wario from it. Because that was like a legit game, and even though the Virtual Boy is bad itself, I don't think that game was bad.
No, there were a lot of really good games on Virtual Boy.
They just had to suffer,
I recommend Jeremy Parish's Virtual Boy Works on YouTube if you want to dive deep. I believe he's got a book out now too. You can check out that stuff's all really, really cool.
Yeah.
we're going to close out this week with, speaking of re-releases, those Grand Theft Auto games, the PlayStation 2 games came out in a remastered trilogy, and I don't think any of us are particularly inclined to pick them up, which, Matt, that led you to the question, which beloved game from your past do you not want to see remade or remastered? We often talk like, boy, wouldn't it be great if they remade this or if they remastered that. But which game would you, like Grand Theft Auto, not really be intrigued by?
I don't know why. I think this is a random answer, but first thought came to my head was Siphon Filter.
Yeah. Yeah, let it die, man.
I think a remaster for that game would not look good because it's PS1. Like, I don't know how you remaster that and make that look good without spending a lot of time. But like, even a remake, I would be concerned that it's just becomes generic third-person shooter. Because I think it was revolutionary for the time, right? I think of the technology, but now you have so many behind-the-back third-person shooters that probably can do it way better. Even that are older and do it way better. What's the platinum one? Vanquish?
Yeah.
So that would be my immediate concern, is it just gets a generic treatment and doesn't shine anymore.
Yeah, no, agreed. Mark?
I guess this game has technically been remastered in a sense, but it still kind of stayed true to itself regardless. I'm kind of 50-50 on this, but totally respect it if nothing happens to it anymore. Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
You have some ports on the DS or PlayStation or something, and they added, animated cutscenes, what have you, and maybe a couple more endings or something like that. But the game is still itself. Nothing has really changed there, I believe. Mechanically or visually, it's still the 16-bit sprites. They didn't add voice acting. They didn't do anything like that to it, I believe. And I think the mobile port didn't change much either, if there is one.
There is one. I know it was bad for a while and then they made it better, but I don't know the actual, to what lengths the changes happened.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a Final Fantasy 6 situation or what, where they might have tried to throw in 3D artifacts or something. But yeah, yes, it would be cool to see it remade or something like that, like Final Fantasy VII treatment. But at the same time, I'm totally okay with it staying just as it is.
Yeah. I've seen what happened when they did Rondo of Blood on the PSP, so I'm inclined to say Symphony of the Night. Just leave that as it is. If you're going to put it out again, just put it out again. Don't do a 2.5D, which I think we're kind of past the 2.5D thing at this point. But yeah, leave that one alone. I was actually surprised that Mario Party Superstars is good compared to, because you think back to those 64 games and they were very much of a feel and of an era, and I'm surprised that with modern graphics and everything, how cool and how good those games look and how well the mini games play on not an N64 controller. So I don't know. I guess I'm open to be surprised by some old games that I look back fondly on, but there's some where I'm Symphony, just let Symphony be perfect as it is. If you're going to remake it, I think we talked about it a long time ago, but make a whole reimagining of it the way that you did with Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of those early PS1 games, not just a 2D thing like Symphony was, but some of those just, I think they work so well because of what they were doing with the PlayStation, right?
Definitely.
I don't know, playing that Racing Lagoon or playing any of those old racers like that. Yeah, you can make a new racer, as we saw with Forza, and you can make it really dang good, but there's still I don't know, there's a dirtiness to those old PS1 racing games that just feels good, man. Something grimy about it.
It's Jim Ryan, I think.
Yeah, yes. Knowing that I can get one over on Jim Ryan.
Speaking of Donkey Kong Country.
Jim Ryan, speaking of Donkey Kong.
No, that's just my neurodivergent mind at work. But no, but just to bring that back into the circle for a sec. The way that game was done visually, I think it's just so distinctive and unique, especially for that time. To try to have that remade with like, let's say like you did Donkey Kong Country, but it looks like Tropical Freeze. I don't think I could appreciate it as much because it starts to lose its flavor. Like it starts to lose its originality there a little bit. It just it's just a it's just a 2.5D platformer. I mean, it's probably really good, but there's something about like compressing the 3D into 2D and like giving this weird, like uncanny realism.
Yeah, like maybe Pokemon Shining Diamond and Brilliant, Shining Pearl, Brilliant Diamond. Like, I genuinely liked Diamond and, well, I played Diamond, or what did I play? Yeah, I played Diamond back in the day on DS, and I liked that a lot. So the idea that there would be remakes of them today should be exciting, but I just think they look awful. They just don't look good. The Pokemon do, but that overworld, navigating that, like, I don't know.
Yeah, something about translating pixels to 3D is just, it's such a weird jump that not a lot of people can land.
It's interesting, like the gradual evolution of what Pokemon's visual design is. I think it looks good now, right? Like Sword and Shield, I think look good. I think the character models look good. And the idea that like those old chibi versions have been stretched out into normal human-sized things, I think it looks nice in the world, and I think the worlds look nice, and there's a certain art style and direction. But just to take what was the squishy 2D thing and then 3Dify it, it's just such a weird choice.
Because before, like a lot of that was based on, working with their limitations, so they had to be creative.
Yeah,
and
you'd even see it at the beginning of the games where you'd have your full-size character shrink down, and then okay, let's go into the game world.
Yeah, but now we don't have those limitations, really.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I'm sure that budget-wise and what it takes to make something like Sword and Shield versus what it takes to make this. Not that nothing went into making the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, but like if they were gonna fully reimagine Diamond and Pearl in a Sword and Shield art style, that would be a whole undertaking, which is that's a lot. So
yeah, they shot themselves in the foot when they made like 1,000+ Pokemon. So.
Yeah, they got to start killing Pokemon.
Bring on the Ice Age. Bring on the extinction.
Well, we're going back in prehistoric times, right? With Pokemon, isn't that Atreus?
Yeah, that old Arceus. I'm going with Arceus still, man.
Yeah, that one. The A Legends.
Yeah, it's January. We've got a couple of questions brewing for next week, it seems. I'm very excited for what's to come. Yeah, we'll see. We got another game of the year next week. Some more topics and conversations about video games. Until then, if you like this episode, you should listen to other ones and tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, tell your dad about it, tell your barber about it, tell your grocer about it, tell the man at the meat counter. I listen to the Free Cheese podcast, and you should too. If you use Twitter, you are legally allowed to follow @SomeFreeCheese. Mark is aug_mental, and Matt is MattyIce131. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is where you can send an email, also free of charge. Ask us any question you'd like. We will read it on the air. Feedback, comments, etc. That's it. What are you guys getting into this week with your hands?
Dirty.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Well, while Mark's gathering thoughts to be probably just Pikmin Bloom. SMT 5.
Yeah, Daddy.
The fifth I have not played it yet, but I'm looking forward to get lost into that. The Horizon Festival has treated me well, so I will continue to go back to the Horizon Festival. And this Vampire Wedding is going to last a long time for me, so I'm going to keep my invitation handy.
Take a vow in blood.
Yeah, exactly.
I have like a weird taste for a simulator now that I was talking about it.
Do you think you're going to go more of a driving simulator route, like a truck driver, farmer?
No.
Train simulator? There's there's one on Switch that just lets you drive a train around Kyoto. That seems pretty rad.
Actually, I guess this isn't exactly a simulation, but kind of is. I'm kind of thinking about Jurassic World.
Oh,
the Evolution 2 or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that just dropped, right?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Do you build a Jurassic Park? Is that the idea behind that? Is
like
it like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but Jurassic Park?
Well, Zoo Tycoon.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But there's also like some strategy involved, so I guess you might have to fight some if they, get crazy.
Well, I think we've learned from multiple movies, if you try to build it, it always falls apart, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played those, but I've heard good things about
them. I genuinely echo, I think, most of what Matt has said. With the addition of there's a good running version of the Sharp X68000 on the Mister now, and there's a bunch of old Konami games that are fun and weird to play on there, that just like weird versions of stuff that we never got here, or stuff that we did get, but it's just a weird computer version that like runs better, sounds better, etc. So that's been an interesting thing. It was a pain to get working, but now that it's working, it's pretty sick. And I don't know, man. Mark's got me all jacked up. Not just Mark, but also it's now November, which is my Zelda month, but I'm very much like...
Yeah, I have the RPG itch a little bit too.
Yeah.
I did have Dragon Quest Builders booted up again, and then I forgot it tries to be so much like an old school RPG, so much that it doesn't autosave.
Oh, sick. Love that.
And then I uninstalled the game after I lost my progress.
There's one I've had queued up. I need to actually put it on the Mister, but it's a ROM hack of Zelda 2 called Amida's Curse. And it's a whole brand new, like, took the mechanics of Zelda 2, but they built a brand new adventure for Link. It seems really cool from the video I saw. But I've got that. I think I need to patch a ROM and then put it on the Mister. So
I'm also ready for Halo.
Yeah, we got to play 5 soon.
Ready.
Yeah.
Boot up that Creed playlist.
Yeah, buddy.
I would sing it, but I don't want to get us a DMCA takedown or whatever the hell that's called. Because I sound just like
Sucking on a chili dog? You just do it to the tune of With Arms Wide Open, but you got to say, like, I don't know. I don't know what the phrase would be. Speaking of Donkey Kong? Speaking of Donkey. All right. We're going to get out of here. We will see you next week with Creed and more to come. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, listener, for listening. Have a great week. Bye.